Most men claim they want freedom. They speak of it as if it were simple, as if freedom were a lightness of being, as if to be free meant to remove barriers rather than build boundaries. They picture freedom as absence, absence of schedules, absence of rules, absence of discomfort. They fail to see that absence is a vacuum that invites anything weak enough to fill it. Freedom without form collapses under its own weight because chaos occupies whatever lacks structure. The paradox is plain: the truest freedom requires form, and that form is heavy. It is the heavy, unmoving thing you carry across your days called discipline. Discipline is not entertainment. It is not the exaggerated drama of a single triumphant sequence. It is long arithmetic, addition after addition, a ledger kept private, a balance that favors accumulation over spectacle. Discipline is the art of small, repeated deprivations that compound into a life that cannot be undone with soft excuses. It is not cruelty to yourself, it is fidelity to what you claim matters. Men who balk at discipline imagine themselves heroes of a spontaneous scene. They do not understand that real heroism is routine, that legend is often the residue of habit. The weight of self-discipline is the cost of becoming the men whose life runs on law, not on mood. You do not earn discipline in one grand gesture. You do not acquire it by impulse or by inspiration. You acquire it the way a blacksmith acquires strength, by regular, painful repetition, by exposure to force until the grain of your character rearranges. The first time the alarm finds you and you rise, you pay a small toll. The 100th time, you pay another. No one watches. No one applauds. The ledger grows. The man who keeps tally in silence eventually possesses a weight others mistake for aura. They call it presence, you call it evidence. There are layers to this burden. The most obvious is the external, routines, systems, scheduled blocks of attention, habits that preserve your margin. You force the world to conform to parameters that protect your attention. You engineer mornings and evenings, you set explicit guardrails for consumption, for relationships, for performance. That external architecture is the scaffolding of discipline. It looks austere because it is austere, a functional minimalism that cuts flab from life and leaves only what supports the spine. Beneath the external structure lies something deeper, an internal economy. Discipline is the management of impulses. It is how you convert transient desire into durable action. Each time you defer ease, you fund the next period of focus. Each time you ignore the small lie your mind tells, just this once, you strengthen the muscle of refusal. The inner economy is cruelly exact. Small devaluations of self over time compound into catastrophe. Small investments of will compound into identity. Discipline trains you to prefer the long ledger to short satisfactions. There is also a social cost. Discipline makes you inconvenient. It privileges long-term projects over short-term applause. It asks you to choose solitude when the crowd calls for noise. It forces you to say no to invitations that fracture attention and to withdraw from what dilutes the work. You will be misunderstood. You will be called cold, distant, obsessed. That misunderstanding is a tax, pay it. Those who never pay it live as servants to the crowd, always performing, never owning a sequence long enough to change themselves. The disciplined man tolerates social discomfort because he knows the compounding of the private work matters more than social ease. Emotion is the enemy of consistency. The undisciplined make choices according to how they feel and then wonder why life is always a collection of unfinished chapters. Feelings are variable weather. Discipline is the structure you move inside regardless of the storm. You reframe emotion as signal, not command. You listen to what it reports and choose according to law. That is the renunciation, to stop letting the inner weather dictate the itinerary of your life. You are not an automaton, you are a governor. You accept the responsibility of governance. Carrying discipline is exhausting at first. It will ask you to surrender pleasures you once mistook for identity, late nights, cheap validation, the constant churn of social approval. The initial months feel like loss because they reveal the amount of life you spent reacting rather than constructing. That revelation is painful because it removes illusions. But pain here is utility. It is the toll paid to remove falsehood from your daily script. It is the pruning that promotes growth. If you are not willing to feel that pecuniary ache, you are not ready for the currency discipline creates. Discipline shapes attention. The modern economy sells attention as product. Your discipline reclaims it as capital. Treat your attention like property. Restrict access. Create thresholds. Make delay a default. Not everything available deserves a response. The small habit of delay, responding after thought, not reaction, is foundational. Delay converts noise into choice. Choice begets design. Design begets progress. Slow accumulation of chosen attention is the only sustainable strategy for mastery in an environment that profanes focus. You cannot build discipline on intellect alone. Knowledge is insufficient. The mind that knows what to do but fails to do it daily is dishonest with itself. The discipline loop, decide, perform, verify, adjust, is mechanical. Do the work, verify the result, improve the process. Repeat. The naive believe that willpower is magic. The practiced know it is logistics. Inventory your day like a ledger. Where does your time leak? Where do you grant permission to distraction? Accountability without drama is the secret discipline, metrics, not feelings. Habits matter because they automate discipline. You offload high-friction decisions by automating them. The man who has a morning ritual reduces the number of daily battles. He preserves willpower for meaningful work rather than squandering it on trivial negotiations with himself. Willpower is finite per day, structure conserves it. This is practical austerity. Choose what to spend your mental energy on and make all other expenses automatic or unavailable. Simplicity is not asceticism for its own sake, it is warfare against entropy. Discipline tests identity. When you start to act in line with your standards, an internal re-anchoring occurs. You stop being a body with chaotic urges and become an agent with a standard. Identity follows behavior. That is why discipline is less about motivation than it is about surrendering to process. You enact the person you intend to be until the action scaffolds the belief. Begin with small acts that align to the larger end. The man who keeps his word privately becomes unbreakable publicly. Expect setbacks. Discipline is not a path that avoids failure, it uses failure. There will be days you slip. The crucial element is response. Be undisciplined, dwell, shame, and relent. The disciplined observe, audit, repair, and return. Shame is corrosive, accurate accounting is constructive. Map the gap between promise and performance. Fix the process. Return. That return is where character accumulates. Repetition of the repair ritual is as important as the initial rule. Pain becomes a teacher. The man practicing discipline learns to convert discomfort into data. Why did I pause? What cue led to the lapse? What environment allowed the slide? Pain is not an enemy to avoid but a sensor that reveals fault lines. When you learn to read, not react to pain, you convert suffering into leverage. This is not masochism, it is intelligence applied to the self. Use pain like a scalpel to excise weakness. Loneliness is part of the territory. The crowd that once cheered you may no longer recognize your priorities. People will drift away, some relationships will fracture under the new gravity you create. This is not loss, it's selection. You will not be able to sustain deep focus inside a network that punishes it. Accept the pruning. Protect the core. The few who remain will be those whose presence supports rather than derails your sequence. Quality over quantity, in relationships as in tasks. Rest is strategic. Discipline is not continuous pounding, it is calibrated effort with intentional pauses. The man who never rests collapses from strain, the man who rests without plan drifts. You rest to repair, to consolidate, to re-enter the loop with preserved capacity. Ritualize your recovery. Make sleep non-negotiable. Make deep rest a part of the architecture, not abdication but maintenance. Treat rest like a scheduled service, not a reward for exhaustion. Your environment must be disciplined on your behalf. Remove friction for the right actions, add friction to the wrong ones. If you want to read more, keep books visible and devices distant. If you want to create, design a workspace that demands work upon entry. If you want to avoid social media, put your phone in another room or off. The environment is a silent partner in your discipline, design it to obey the law you want to live by. Words matter. Language is not neutral. Changing language changes options. I will try leaves doors open for failure. I will do constructs obligation. Someday begets procrastination. Swap weasel words for declaratives. Speak less, execute more. The disciplined vocabulary is succinct because the man living it has less need to convince others, he needs to instruct himself. Keep sentences tight and standards tighter. The weight of self-discipline is also ethical. It creates honor. When you keep promises to yourself, you cultivate trust. Trust in others flows from trust in self. Reputation is the externalization of internal discipline. People respect the men whose actions are coherent. They resent the one whose words are a continuum of excuses. So guard your word. Your smallest yes should be as weighty as your largest. There is freedom in scarcity. Scarcity of options concentrates force. The disciplined choose to have fewer good things rather than many mediocre pleasures. Constraint concentrates energy, clarifies focus, and eliminates indecision. This is strategic subtraction. Remove the peripheral to increase the effect of the core. Minimalism here is functional, not performative. Take care with comparison. The world will offer you metrics that break you: social bandwidth, likes, visible success. Those metrics are noise. Track your internal KPIs: adherence, improvement, time on task, error reduction. Your progress is incremental. It is arithmetic, not fireworks. Reward systems designed to create urgency are substitutes for your own internal economy. Choose a ledger only you control. Humility is a discipline ally. The man who believes he has finished learning is a man without future. Discipline requires curiosity. Curiosity about process, about failure, about what friction reveals. When you stay humble, you stay teachable. That teachability is discipline's lubrication. Pride rusts process, humility oils it. Legacy is the long view discipline favors. You are not building for applause, you are building for endurance. The immediate crowd is a poor judge of durable work because they prefer spectacle. The long-run judge is time. Invest in things that survive simple pleasures and pass the test of seasons. Work that looks small today may be enormous by outcomes because compound increments rarely announce themselves. Stoicism and discipline are cousins. The Stoic practices indifference to externals while mastering internals. Discipline is the practical enactment of Stoic theory: control what you can, accept what you cannot, and direct energy only where it matters. This alignment is not emotional numbing, it is clarity of purpose. It allows pain to mean something other than catastrophe. It becomes instrument. Execution is the real currency. Ideas without sustained execution are just dreams socialized into vanity. You will meet many brilliant plans undercut by a lack of follow-through. The disciplined man does not love ideas, he loves the plumbing of execution. He maps systems, defines inputs, monitors outputs, iterates. Systems reduce reliance on heroics and increase reliance on reliability. Leadership grows from discipline. The man anchored in routine leads by example. He does not rhetoric his way into influence, he models it. People follow those who hold firm under pressure because human beings prefer models they can infer from behavior. Your authority will be quiet and durable, not flashy, but actionable. That is leadership that matters. The social contract you keep with yourself will alter how others treat you. When you become reliable, others learn the cost of your time and energy. They either respect it or they leave. Both outcomes are acceptable. The disciplined man does not bargain for more time, he protects the time he has and charges nothing to those who do not value it. There is no permanent victory in discipline. It isn't a slope you climb to never return. It's a steady maintenance, renew the contract daily. Each day is a new test. The ledger does not carry yesterday's triumph forever, each morning asks for proof again. This daily humility keeps the structure alive. It prevents complacency. Expect to feel the strain of contrast. People who knew you before might resent the new gravity you bring. Some relationships will become friction points and require renegotiation or exit. Do this cleanly. Do not plead. Explain only when necessary. Let your work be the argument. The transition of relationships is a cost of the work. Pay it without drama, because drama is attention and attention is a tax on your focus. Remember to measure the right things. Vanity metrics erode attention. Measure hours aligned, streaks maintained, error rates lowered, output completed. Let the ledger show slow but steady incline. When results come, avoid sudden indulgence. Discipline rewards compounding, indulgence interrupts growth. Protect the compounding. Practice radical ownership. If a week slips, own it. If a habit collapses, own it. Do not externalize blame. The disciplined man learns to treat setbacks as his responsibility first. That ownership converts guilt into action. It turns shame into corrective behavior. When you own, you move toward repair instead of retreat. The men who carry discipline long enough find that the weight of responsibility gradually rearranges itself into a mantle. The burden becomes a garment that fits. The rhythm of prearranged choices becomes comfort, not because life has less friction, but because the man has greater capacity. He can carry what he once called burden with ease that looks like calm. Discipline breeds a certain inner quiet. When your commitments are honored, the inner critic quiets. Anxiety reduces because you live in an environment of kept promises. The mind stops hunting for evidence of failure and starts to look for marginal improvements. That is the peace discipline buys, not absence of struggle, but the absence of internal contradiction. Finally, know the moral arithmetic. Discipline trades immediate pleasures for persistent goods. It asks you to choose the long ledger over instant relief. It will hurt and it will cost. It will alienate and it will test. But it also delivers the rarest of human statuses, integrity in action. When your actions align with your stated values day after day, you become a man who cannot be easily swayed. Integrity is heavy, it is the densest currency. Few pay that price. The ones who do, live beyond the moment. Carry the weight deliberately. Accept the losses that come with construction. Protect your attention, design your environment, automate your decisions, forgive quickly and repair faster, and above all, keep the ledger. There is no magic beyond the arithmetic of repetition. The weight does not disappear, your capacity to carry it grows. Strength is not absence of burden, it is mastery of it. When someone asks what discipline cost, say, everything I was willing to trade for the person I became. That answer will be sufficient for you and incomprehensible to the loud. Keep moving. Keep building. Keep carrying the heavy, honest thing called self-discipline until your presence alone steadies others. That is the final economy. You become the structure men unconsciously rely upon, not by demand, but by the gravity of lived habit.